Hey everyone, Eloise Ansell here with Terryann Nikides from Dose of Truth Tarot. Very excited to be chatting today. So, we have a workshop coming up, but I want to talk a little bit about Terryann. Let's quickly go over your background and then maybe we can talk about how you teach a little differently to others.
Okay, so my background. Well, I've been studying tarot since 1971. I was 11 years old, and it fascinated me. And I started delving a lot more deeply in my 20s. So when I was a kid, playing around, seeing what kind of questions I could answer. And then later on, I thought, oh, well, how about now I look at people's questions and how we would answer those. So I started doing that. And eventually by 1995, it was very strong. And I went, well, now I'm reading professionally. So what's the next step? So the next step was teaching. And, that was a huge evolution. It was fun. And it's still fun to keep evolving different ways of reading because we have so many drawbacks when it comes to reading. We have our personal viewpoints. Sometimes we're not objective. We need to understand the cards, and the cards have so many components. I don't work necessarily just with symbology. I work more, you can work with symbology, of course, but we need to work with the basic symbols of the numbers. What do those numbers mean? What do the elements of the tarot mean? Earth, air, fire, water, which are pentacles or coins, discs. Then you have batons and wands, which usually are represented by fire, but they're also part of growth. You see many batons in decks where you see leaves coming out. So you see the spark of life, or maybe even inspiration, just seeing that kind of component. And then you have the swords, which are, I would say, obvious. We say people have a sharp wit, a keen a keen intellect. Those are the blades, right? So we can use the blades to have a really good discussion, or we can use the blades to hurt ourselves. You can use the blades to hurt someone else, but it's also figuring out, oh, how do I use these blades in a way that are going to cut through the dross? So there's that aspect as well. And then we have cups, obviously dealing with romance and love, but also our emotional state, also, things like our neediness and our tendency for codependency and trying to give someone, I want someone else to experience me in a really nice way, or I experience them nicely, or I try to, it can get very severe where we try to control someone else because we think they're making us feel a certain way, and it becomes very controlling. So those aspects are in the emotions as well. And we also keep in mind each of these things are natural to our body mind, to our experience here on earth, and they're useful. It's when they become difficult that that's when I want a tarot reading, actually. That's when I look at, hey, something's not right. So I love, these readings that tell me where I'm at, what's going on with me, and that way I can hone in on what needs to shift in me, what I can look at, how I can work on different things. And the cards actually show you. And especially because the cards are reflecting what I think because I'm the one doing the reading, right? So even if I'm reading for someone else, I'm watching and I'm sensing how are they experiencing this. If they're not experiencing the reading, I need to go within myself and start shifting how I'm explaining things, because vocabulary is a huge thing. Eloise, you're a Brit, I'm a Canadian. We speak differently, we have different ways of communicating. So we're always kind of evolving our ability to give a reading. So the course we have, starts with real fundamentals, things that will help you understand your cards, but then we start evolving it. We go through the cards again and again in different ways, especially in our Q&A when you joined You start working with the mastery of tarot, and you ask questions, and you're able to discuss what your experience is. It is just so interesting and beautiful, and we all learn something when people share their view of a card. So here we start where we start with the basics. You don't know anything, and you start, and it's a little stilted. You're reading, it's a little, oh, what does this mean and what does that mean? And we start to really apply it linearly, and then after working with it and developing our and evolving in our readings, it becomes so interesting. It becomes part of the individual, and they're able to express, even though we could all ask the same question and get five different people asking a question. We will, five different people answering one question. Each person will come up with a particular way of expressing that question, that answer, excuse me, but they're all saying this a similar thing, but in a different way, which is so beautiful, right? It's so it's like a flower unfurling. And I have a particular way of giving an answer. Eloise might have a particular way, but when you listen to everyone, it's this evolution and deeper understanding of the card. So, of course, the Q&A for me, of course, you learn and you listen. And what's so beautiful about our course is you can, just have it in your head and fall asleep, and go around in your day and listen to bits here and there, and you have little exercises you can do. And then when you get to the Q&A, you're beginning to give your own voice to the cards, because each person has their particular experience, their particular way of expressing things. As you might go to different readers and you don't necessarily relate to them all. Of course, that's life. So we are all attracting, usually we're attracting the person who needs us. That's kind of a precept from Reiki. In Reiki, whoever comes to you, they're coming to you because that is the karma. So it's the same with the reading. I've even found when someone tells me, oh, I didn't like this reader, I go, okay, whether you like them or you didn't like them doesn't really matter. But that was the person you attracted. So even if you didn't like them, you didn't like the way they said something, it's probably helping to guide you somewhere, or helping you to see something you didn't see. You don't have to like everybody. That's not the point. But understanding that destiny is always occurring, right? We're always at the right place at the right time, no matter how harshly our mind or the swords judge, and always bringing that back as insight. What's going on with me in this? Sometimes some people don't say no. I've seen people give away their power to a tarot reader, and the tarot reader gives them advice. This is not so healthy for anyone. The tarot reader becomes burdened energetically, and the person keeps coming and asking the same thing. So here we're working with, let's see how we can support ourselves as a reader. Because remember, as the reader in the tarot, she's the priestess. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, you're still in priestess zone. You're in that insight, that intuition. And that really supports us to evolve personally, but also support our querent to have their own insights as to what's going on, have their own insights. That is so beautiful. And even learning to work with someone, this is quite evolved, but learning to work with someone so you're engaged in the conversation with them, not just trying to solve their problems or just tell them, yes, it's going to happen. No, that's not going to happen. Because, gosh, when I was in the public eye, working in a place giving readings, and somebody would ask a question like, will I get married? Will I be in a relationship? And the answer was no. Well, is that just in this moment? For me, it was just in the moment, the way you are right now, energetically, karmically, everything going on with you. Well, No, but we see places where you're going to start to evolve, and that will shift whether you have a relationship or not, or whether you have financial abundance or not. So our purpose is to open up these little, this is the moon in the tarot, these little boxes that hold our gold, and we're holding it at bay. Maybe we don't want to shine. Maybe it seems arrogant to think you're blessed with a quality, right? It depends on your upbringing. It depends on your family history. It depends on your culture, and helping and supporting the person to go, well, wait a minute, you got some gold over here. Let's explore that. Explore how you could look at it so it's not arrogant. So it's not feeling like you're prideful. It's just something that you are able to do. When it comes to intuition, I remember people would say to me, oh my God, you're so intuitive. I want to be like you. And I would downplay my intuition. And this was very problematic in my life because it actually hurt the people I was working with. My students say, oh, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm like saying, well, whatever I have, you have. And
Mm.
that's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily true. And it doesn't mean I'm better or worse. Because one side of intuition, okay, it's cool. You look at me and you go, wow, she's really intuitive. How cool is that? The other side is it's really been difficult to deal with having all this sensitivity coming in and experience everything. Sometimes I couldn't tell the difference between myself and other people. I spent 10 years fainting because people's energy would come in and I'd pass out. I had to learn to, oh, that's not me. That's not, oh, you can learn to discern and differentiate. So no, it's not necessarily good or bad, though I have a very strong intuition. Sometimes it even surprises me how come I know things and somebody else doesn't see them, whereas before I would assume everybody saw the same thing. And I just go, why is everybody lying? And they weren't, they just couldn't feel it, right? So you can imagine it was very troubling to me, very, very troubling. And now, after years and years of exploring and the tarot helping me and on, and many other things that I've done, it's really helped me to pick and choose what the difference is and what is for me to look at and what is for someone else to look at, what to give to someone else. I used to be very blunt, and people get really mad with my bluntness. Now I have a better way of explaining things. That's like 40 years ago versus today, 40 years of intense one-on-one experiences. And, every time I got a strong reaction for something, I'm like, why are they bothered by this? Why are they bothered? Well, it says no, so do something about it. And learning over time that, it's not so easy to deal with the psyche of an individual. So this is really the beauty of doing this work, working in the Q&A, and consistently the evolution of the work that we're doing. That's what I found. I don't know about you, Eloise, but I'm finding that evolving, and it was a big deal, putting this course online to train people. It's not like one-on-one when I'm teaching in classes, and that's not one-on-one, but you have the person asking a question immediately, and then we have feedback. Whereas here we're putting lessons out, and there's stuff going on in the individual, and I don't know what's going on until they come on in the Q&A and support, shifting things and seeing things in a different way, supporting their own voice, supporting their capacity. That doesn't mean you have to come on the Q&A. It depends what you want to do with your tarot cards. It depends. You could even say this work that we're doing is also supporting you in your life, right? That's a whole other
Mm.
byproduct of this course, right? It's not just, okay, I'm learning the cards, and I think, I'm gonna, promote every tarot reader because they're all showing you where your limitations are and where you're not expressing something. So that is something beautiful with all classes. But and one of the biggest differences that I find is really, I'm going to say it again, but maybe in different ways, really supporting the reader to be able to find different ways of expressing, even though it's the same thing. And that supports sort of the priestess opening up and then manifesting the dark side, which is the moon. And in the moon, remember, there's gold in the shadow. Sleepy time is wonderful. Going to sleep is wonderful. You know how terrible it is when you don't fall asleep, right? So when the moon's out, it's lovely to fall asleep. That full moon, a little wildness comes out. And all of these changes are just fine. And then the sun comes out, and here we manifest. And every time we learn something, we fall asleep again, go into the unconscious, and then come out and manifest again. So this is really what I focus on. Even though you don't know that when I'm teaching, this is a space to inform you. I'm really tuning into that capacity of ours to shift and change how we experience the nervous system and how you experience a card. Because I'm sure I've heard it many times. How I saw a card day one of the class is not how I see the card today, which leads us into this class that we're putting on. Now, this is going to be widely available, affordable. I mean, it's not expensive at all for this work. I would, if I was doing this in person or maybe do it again, it'll be a whole different ball game. But right now, we're offering it at, I forget what the price is, but it's very low, and it's a 2.5 hour class that is going to support learning how to read intuitively, becoming sensitive to your intuition. And by the way, intuition is in your belly, it's in the gut. We have a gut feeling. I always say that. So you have to learn to listen to that gut, because most often when you're a novice, you go up in the head, right? And that's not where the answers are. The intuition's got to be the gut. But that doesn't mean that the mind is useless. The gut gives us something, then we need to interpret it using the mind. And to help you use the mind, we're going to have one definition for every card and anchor the answer, whatever your intuition's telling you to look at, to the meaning of the card, the one word. I'm not going to bring up a lot of words because we want to get at the end of this that you know how to do it. So if you read more definitions, you'll be able to expand your reading capacity. And then we relate it to the question. 3 apparently simple steps. Now they're a little more complex. They have some complexity to them, but those are the 3 steps. And I'm going to help you get through those 3 steps, and you will be able to come up with not only just like a yes no answer, that's not always so much fun, but getting a clear phrase, just one sentence. It doesn't have to be long, it's just a nice short sentence. So I have a methodology to put that sentence together. Okay, so little things like reading objectively, helping you to read objectively rather than going into, because the mind goes, well, it looks like you're not using your emotions properly, so you need to start doing that. That's not a very good answer. I don't want to hear that answer. I don't know what you mean by using your emotion. I hear these answers quite often. I want it to be really, really precise, sensitive to the querent, the person asking the question, help you when you feel insecure about a reading. This technique will go, well, wait a minute. I'm not doing anything here. I'm not thinking anything. I'm just following these steps, and I can get this answer. And it has nothing to do with me, really. The gut's telling me what to look at. I'm putting it into a sentence. Okay, that's the answer. So we're going to get that, start supporting the objectivity, and that'll give you a lot more respect for your gut and your intellect, rather than going off in your head and thinking all these weird things. That's the biggest trouble, right? The biggest trouble is getting away from our thoughts. That is the biggest trouble. So this is going to be a technique that you will use over and over again to keep training you to be objective and not really look at things, but at the same time bringing in some sensitivity, right? Because sometimes we can be insensitive, or sometimes we could be overly sensitive to someone and start giving them advice, which is not our job. I mean, obviously, that you need to take more breaks, you need to breathe, you could drink more water, maybe go look for a course. Those are little practical things. But talking about advice on how to live their lives, that's not a tarot reader's job. Not telling somebody whether they should stay with someone or divorce someone, or, but giving, helpful, practical things to do to get them along the way for whatever it is they're concerned about is a very different thing. It's a fine line, but we often, this is one of the difficulties I find with people learning to read, is they go straight to advice instead of, remember, advice is different from something practical, right? No therapist would tell someone, well, no good therapist who's worth their salt will tell someone to leave their husband. That you're not going to do that. And also, it's in most countries it's against the law, so it's not our job to do that, but our job to help support. If somebody says they want to leave but they can't, well, let's support. What are the things going on that are preventing you from leaving? And by the way, if somebody wants to leave their partner and you help them find the things that are preventing them from leaving, very often they stay and the relationship becomes better. So that's fascinating too. So you're not trying to get them to leave, you're trying to get them to see the blocks, and then it changes the relationship. So very, very interesting. Very interesting work. So I hope you join us. It is 2.5 hours. We're going to be doing some intense work together. And yeah, please come on.
Yeah, do. So we have the intuitive tarot workshop on Monday, the 28th of November, 2022. It is $25. It is at 7:30 UK time. So there will be a button somewhere on the page where you can find out what time that is for you. This is going to be a live class. So we will make the recording available for 1 week only. The encouragement is for you to come on live and interact and ask questions and have the experience. We are going to give you cheat sheets, we are going to give you things to go away with and practice, but you're not going to keep the recording. This is going to be a one-off live class. So we might run it again, maybe. We'll see. So please
Yes.
come on
And
if you can.
and one of the reasons we're doing it live is, first of all, I have not done this with other people than my mastery students. So my mastery students who work with me one-on-one, we've been doing this work for a long time, and it's just been so effective and helpful, especially to get them out of particular patterns of having memorized the cards and then giving these stat answers. But I haven't done it online, and I'm not even sure how this is going to evolve. Hopefully one day it'll evolve as a course we can leave online. But right now, I'm going to need to see the feedback. So I need to work with you all when you come on. I need to see what's going on with you, because I'm still not sure. Maybe in the future, Eloise, we'll see how it evolves. But
Yeah.
right now I need that feedback with you to see how you're doing and where your difficulties are, and maybe that'll evolve into a course that we could have available for sale. But at this point, it's got to be one-on-one.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's got to
Gotta
be
be gotta
live.
be interactive live. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and
And
it's live.
alongside that, we do have the Dose of Truth Tarot course, which is worth diving into if you want to learn more. Obviously, the workshop's going to be a kind of standalone thing, and actually, everyone that's taken the Dose of Truth course is very excited about the new workshop, so very good. And Terryann keeps referencing a Q&A. We have a membership, so once you've done the tarot course, you can join our membership and have group time with Terryann every fortnight, asking questions, and that's where we really get into the mastery of this. So just to clear that up. So
That's
if you want to
yeah,
find out any more, go to the website and find out.
right. It's really important to know. You can have the course, you can work with it as you're going along. But remember, that the Q&A and being part of the membership is really going into delving into some of the ideas I've mentioned, like mastering, doing your own personal work, being able to be a really good reader, evolving your capacity. I did this alone, for 40 years, evolving all of this. Now, there are more people out there doing this, but there's still a lot of questions and difficulty. And to me, that one-on-one questioning, of course, in the Q&A, it's a group, but that questioning and being able to express yourself is something that is so critical to the work, or you could fly here and get a hotel room and I'll train you one-on-one. But
That'll cost a lot of money.
that'll cost a lot of money.
It's far
Or
easier to
flying me
come into
somewhere
the,
will cost a lot of money. So this works out beautifully. It works out very, very beautiful.
yeah,
I'm very impressed. It was,
yeah.
I have to give kudos to Eloise. Eloise is the one who came up with this idea, and it bore more fruit than I could have anticipated. So I thank you, Eloise, for making this available to everyone.
Yeah, and the feedback we've had has been awesome. So if you want to dive in to the one workshop with us that we've got coming up, please do. If you want to go away and look at Dose of Truth Tarot, please, dive into this content. Because for me, Terryann's way of teaching tarot is very unique. And for me, this is a real journey of ourselves. It's a personal development journey as well, looking at ourselves and understanding ourselves and others better. Very
Yeah,
cool.
that's the real that's what I love, because just giving advice and giving answers, it could be fun. If somebody wants to go on a lark to have a reading, it
Yeah,
could be fun.
yeah.
But as my husband, said he went for a reading years ago and things came true. And I said, well, do you have the recording? And he said, well, no, I don't. And I said, well, your brain could have changed things you probably didn't hear. Because I've had people after a week of receiving their reading, and I record all readings
Mhm.
and send it to them. And I'll hear what they have to say about what I said. And I'll think, no, I that
Two
doesn't
different
even
things.
sound like something I would say. Like, I'm gonna go back and listen. And I go back. Sometimes they beat me. And I go, oh my God, you said the exact opposite. See how our minds skew things,
Mm.
right? So we never know many years later what has happened in the reading and what's going on. So, okay, so whether things work out or not, I mean, people love that. They love to know. I understand that, of course. But what about those difficult moments when the cards show that it's not going in the direction you think it should go in? Then that's where our job becomes beautiful and supportive. Where, okay, here's what the cards are showing you about yourself. And that is a sort of block. And if you start to work with that, with whatever ways come up in the reading, you work with that, and then it'll shift whatever outcome you want. So, sure, it's really nice when you hear all these nice outcomes. Oh, you're going to have this, and you're going to have that, and you're going to get married, and you're going to have
You're going to meet a tall,
three
dark,
kids.
handsome
Sure,
man.
yeah, so it's great, it's fun, but more often than not, it's not always working out. And that's where our sensitivity comes in. And how do we help this person? I mean, your focus might not be on helping, but the cards are literally mirroring, hey, where's your block? Here, I'm showing you right here. I'm
Yeah.
showing you your difficulty. It shows it right there. So I think most of us want that, especially, if it's all working out, you get this reading and it shows everything falling into place, great. But we know that life isn't like that. We know life doesn't work that way all the time. You can have some skeleton of your life that's working out, but sometimes you get into some difficulties. Like, we'll have kids, yes. We get married, yes. You might even give the date, but you didn't look at, when's my child going to struggle, or when's my marriage going to struggle? And that's going to come at some point. And I don't bring that up necessarily because the cards don't show it, but they may come back after they've married. I have people come back annually, I have people coming back. Some people come back every decade. It's so interesting. Some people come back once a year. Some people, I don't see the same person. If the reading, let's say a reading is for a year, I don't want them back unless something dramatic has shifted. Otherwise, and that's very rare. But having a reading, because I could get a reading for 6 months, right? And then they can come back after 6 months because there's some kind of transition going on. But readings more often, like weekly readings or monthly readings, quite frankly, they're very annoying because you didn't do the work I gave you, or the cards gave you. And, go back and listen to that. It's just you're you actually notice you're repetitive. It's the same thing over again. Maybe go see a therapist and work through it. So interesting stuff, fun stuff to work with. All right.
Hmm.
So
Well, I'm
thank
looking
you.
forward to this workshop, and thank you, Terry Ann. And hopefully see all of you at the workshop soon.